You're watching a CBS 5 News special, Monsoon, Eye on the Storm.
That lightning can be pretty impressive to watch, but also very dangerous at the same time.
And there are some things you can do to keep you and your family safe. Well, the first thing you want to remember is avoid standing under a natural lightning rod, like this flagpole, a light post, or even a small tree. Now, if you get caught in a lightning storm, the first thing you want to do is get in the lowest position possible. Avoid lying flat on the ground. You want to get in a crouched position and wait for that thunderstorm to pass. Remember, appliances with cords can also conduct electricity. You want to turn them off and make sure you unplug them. And don't forget to stay off your home telephone when a thunderstorm approaches. Electricity can travel high into the power lines where you can get struck. And remember, water is also an excellent conductor of electricity, so if you want to avoid washing your hands, taking a bath or shower, or even swimming in the pool during a thunderstorm.
So how do we forecast and track monsoon storms? Well, we have the latest weather technology that keeps us on top of developing weather and keeps you safe in your neighborhood. In fact, we can pinpoint and track each individual storm with Live 5 Doppler radar. We monitor 5 different radar sites all at once, and based on the current direction and speed of the storm, we can time out the arrival of a storm cell directly to your neighborhood.
Not only can we track these storms right into your neighborhood, we can tell which one has the most potential for damaging winds and hail using technology called X-Vision. We can slice through a storm and show it to you in 3D. That allows us to see if the storm is getting bigger and stronger or weakening.
During our weathercast in the monsoon, you'll often hear us talk a lot about different watches and warnings.
Here's the difference between the two.
A watch is issued well in advance of a storm. It lets you know severe weather is possible. Think of it as a heads up. However, a warning is issued when severe weather has developed and is already happening. You can think of a warning as a call for action to protect yourself and your property.
When the desert is getting soaked with monsoon rain, water builds up quickly, leading to flooding. You'll want to make sure you steer clear of washes.
That's because that heavy rain can turn normally dry washes into raging rivers in just a matter of moments. The Indian Bend Wash in Scottsdale is a good example of that.
The Indian Bend Wash is a flood channel and runs all the way down to the Salt River. It's considered a flooding hotspot. Other flooding hotspots in the valley are the Skunk Creek Wash area. That's around Pinnacle Peak Road and 35th Avenue. Near Cave Creek at the intersection of Tatum and Dynamite is another area that we pinpoint. Another pinpoint hotspot for flooding is the Fountain Hills area. As water runs off the McDowell Mountains, it could flood roadways. Also, in the Wickenburg area, the Hassayampa River poses a threat whenever we get too much rainfall banking up against those mountains.
Sometimes that high water can cause road closures, and when those roads are closed, you need to turn around and stay off that street.
Not only is it for your safety, it's the law.
Arizona has a stupid motorist law, and if you have to be rescued because you went around a barricade, you violated that law. A first offense will get you 2 years of probation, up to 4 months in jail, and at least $750 in fines. If you are rescued again within 24 months of the first offense, you face 3 years probation and anywhere between 20 days to 6 months in jail. That second offense will also cost you. Fees start at $2,500. In both cases, you could also face costs associated with the rescue.
As rain continues to fall during the monsoon, the Maricopa County Flood Control District monitors just how much water we get right here in our desert landscape.
It's not uncommon for one area of the valley to be dodging heavy rain while the other has no rain at all. There are rain gauges sending back valuable information to the Maricopa County Flood Control District.
We have over 350 alert stations set up throughout the county that are gathering weather data, rainfall data, stream gauge data, all that information, and we have long records of that data.
As you know, it doesn't take much rain at all to cause problems here in the valley. In fact, depending on the soil and the ground type, an inch of rain in 30 minutes can cause significant flooding problems for one part of the valley, and in others it wouldn't. The data provided by these gauges will also help our CBS 5 weather team determine exactly where flooding may occur.
Besides all the technology, the National Weather Service also depends on trained weather spotters to report what they experience in their part of the valley.
These spotters are trained by members of the National Weather Service in classes like these. Ken Waters with the National Weather Service says it's important to have these trained spotters keeping a close watch on our monsoon storms.
We have a lot of advanced technology. We have radar and satellites and automated systems, But what we don't often have are eyes on the ground. And that's that critical component that the volunteer spotters can give us.
For those interested, the National Weather Service holds between 20 and 30 free classes each year. They do offer advanced classes as well. Right now, there are 2,500 spotters registered in the Phoenix area.
When storms leave us in the dark, there are trained professionals working to get the power back on. Still ahead on Monsoon, Eye on the Storm, we'll tell you the #1 reason you end up without power. These storms can be scary, not only for us, but for our pets as well. We have some tips to help keep your furry friends safe. And when storms hit, it changes the way we do things. But what about those we look to for help in emergencies? Still ahead, find out what they do differently to respond to an influx of calls for help.
You're watching a CBS 5 News special, Monsoon, Eye on the Storm.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Waters. Time for another quick break from the program you're watching, Monsoon, Eye on the Storm. Joining us is Glendale Police Chief Deborah Black. Chief, the city has an Emergency Operations Center. It's called an EOC for short. And during a storm, there are officials from the city of Glendale actually inside that EOC monitoring weather conditions in Glendale.
Julie, that's correct. We do have the opportunity to activate the EOC in a significant storm, and that allows us to not only get information from the National Weather Service about where the storm is and how it might be impacting us, but then we can dedicate city services as quickly as possible. We have direct contact with them so that we can get people the help they need very, very quickly.
So Chief, let's talk about the roadways, and that involves your department. Many times during a monsoon, the power will go out, lights will flicker, so people are out driving on the road and they come to an intersection and either it's completely black or lights could be flashing. You could have an officer there, you may not. What is your advice?
So 2 things to remember. If the lights are flashing or there are no signal lights, treat it like a 4-way stop and really be cautious about what other traffic might be doing. If an officer is there, he or she will direct you when it's okay to go.
Any other advice you want drivers to know?
Yeah, speed and lights. Day or night, you need to have your headlights on during a monsoon storm. And then speed, keep in mind that if the roadways are wet, that you don't have the traction that you normally would, it'll take longer to stop. So it's important to monitor your speed with conditions, not necessarily pay attention to what the sign is or what you normally would be able to do, but make sure that it matches what the conditions present.
There is something in Arizona called the Stupid Motorist Law. It's a real name and it's a state law. It has to do with crossing a flooded wash. We actually have some pictures that we can show you of people who have had to be rescued from crossing flooded streets. Now, folks, there are areas right here in the city of Glendale where this can happen.
Correct. So what will happen is if the street is flooded, barricades may go up, signage would go up. And if a motorist chooses to ignore those things and still go through the street, they're subject to several things. One, it's reckless driving. So there are fines of up to $750, up to 4 months in jail. It's a Class 2 misdemeanor. Secondly, they can be held responsible for the cost of emergency response. So police officers, firefighters, the cost of that rescue could be passed on to the driver.
Okay. Chief Debbie Black from the Glendale Police Department, thank you so much for your time and your information.
Thank you.
All of these safety tips are on the city's website, glendaleaz.com/monsoon. We are going to come back here to Glendale 11 for one more break. And for that one, you'll want to have a piece of paper and a pen handy to write down phone numbers. But for now, we will return to our special program, Monsoon, Eye on the Storm.